Did you know that the shell crowns in the Siren Wars actually exist? And not only exist, but I sometimes wear them to book signings and different events. I actually created these crowns and then we added them to the covers so that I would have the ability to use them in marketing, and I would have the ability to recreate those and sell them at my book signings. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I've got lots of accessories that I like to use with my books that go really well at book signings. Usually they're pertaining to jewelry, and I loved the idea of being able to make these crowns. So each crown on the Siren Wars saga, so all three of the books and the novella and the omnibus box set, all of those things have different unique crowns that truly exist, and I truly have worn when I am wearing my tails and when I'm doing different promotional things and during my live streams and even during I don't know if you guys remember this, but a few years back on TikTok, we made a movie with me and a whole bunch of other actresses. We created this amazing, amazing story. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's a lot of fun. And we dressed up like mermaids. We wore the crowns, the whole thing. And so I've used all these things again and again and again for marketing purposes when it comes to my novel. And so as authors, you can be especially paying attention to the covers that you have commissioned for your book covers and look at what elements you can use to create things out of that you can then wear for marketing purposes and sell at your events. So it doesn't just have to be limited to something like crowns or necklaces. You can do all sorts of things connected to your book cover. If you have a book cover that has objects on it or big text, there's a lot that you can then implement to create t-shirts or jewelry or things that people can get their hands on at your book signings, or things that you can wear that then represent your books out in public. Some people actually put their book covers on like skirts or purses or tote bags, and then they take those out into public, and it's like a little billboard for your book, especially if you've got that full book cover on it and not just elements from it. It's like how people will stick something on the side of their car for their business. If you're carrying around a tote with your really cool book cover on it and your title and your stuff, people are going to take note. They're going to ask questions about it. You're going to be able to pitch your book without actually pitching it simply by the way you're walking around. And so you can create real life things and then use it to market. I created the crowns, then we put the crowns on the cover, and then I used the crowns in my live streams. You can go back and watch videos on this channel of me in those crowns, I think, reading the first chapter of my book and the first chapter of the novella. So you've got things where you can go back and see what I've done and how I've used that. And right now, my crowns are sitting actually in a box. I don't think I unpacked them when I moved here. Oh, I must have. I did. They're around somewhere. I've got them protected somewhere. But I then use those in a bunch of different ways. And you have to be mindful of how you're doing them, because if you're doing something like a crown, it could potentially cause a lot of weight on your head, cause a headache at these book signings. So maybe wear it for part of the time, not the entire time. There are options. You can have them displayed on your table. I could recreate this. I could create a new version of this and use it to sit on top of my book stack, or I could use it to put on top of my price list for my books on my table. There's so much that you can do with elements from your book covers. No matter what type of cover you have, you can use the fonts, you can use one of the words, you can use one of the elements. I have, for my Conspiracy of Jack Frost, I have ice and I have tree branches and I have flowers, because it's the seasons colliding into each other. So I have all these elements. I can then take those elements and use them in my marketing. I can use them in the earrings I'm going to wear or the necklaces that I'm going to wear. I can create those colors with my clothing. I can use them as displays. I can use them as all sorts of things. You can get very creative by the way you're using your book covers to then market your book in unexpected ways. So if you have the opportunity to create things and get them into a book cover, like if you plan well, you can set up your marketing before you have this created. I knew I was going to do this. I always knew I was going to do this. So well before I had created the cover, because you guys know I'm a professional cover designer. Don't make your own covers. Hire a professional. It doesn't have to be me. I'm not pitching you me. I'm just saying you got to work with a professional. Know what you want. If you have an idea of what you want and you can add elements in, you can then give these things or give specific information to your cover designers to add those things in. So if you think, okay, I wrote the Conspiracy of Jack Frost, I mentioned snow globes a couple of times. I'm going to use snow globes in part of my marketing. Let's talk about how we could implement that into the cover. Or In my Jaded duology, butterflies are a big thing in a specific scene. And they're very impactful for later on in the story as well. I maybe want to work a butterfly into the Jaded cover so that not only can I use it based on what's going on inside of the story, but people are going to get that very simple visual reference immediately without having to read the book. Plan the elements you can put in the cover to things you can do in your marketing to make your marketing easier later. We don't want to have something done and then figure out how to make it work. Know what you can potentially do and then turn it into something you can leverage. By being smart about this, by thinking, okay, here are some things that I can do in my marketing. Let's put it over here in some capacity, or let's use it in our chapter headers, or let's use it in some graphics or the title page or something. Be smart about this. If you think ahead with your marketing, you can implement a ton of stuff into your book to then make a much more cohesive brand, to make it very easily visually identifiable, and to save you time and effort in your marketing later. So the Siren Wars crowns, they truly exist because I knew I would be able to create them, to use them in marketing after I put them on my book cover. I thought ahead, I implemented, and I made my life a lot easier. And now there's tons of visual cues plus really good talking points on the things that I've created and the things that I do that can help me to make book sales and drive up conversation about the books that I have created. Drop your questions down below. Follow along for more as we continue to help you navigate the world of publishing, from your writing to your publishing to your marketing, to make this your most profitable author year ever with the most ease possible. I want your marketing to be so freaking easy you never have to complain about it. And when you think ahead and you do things like this, it is. We'll see you in tomorrow's episode.